What is there in a name? It is merely an empty basket, until you put something into it. The first steps in the path of discovery, and the first approximate measures, are those which add most to the existing knowledge of mankind. Another mode of accumulating power arises from lifting a weight, and then allowing it to fall. For one person, who is blessed with the power of invention, many will always be found, who have the capacity of applying principles. On 2 occasions, I have been asked, "Pray, Mr. Babbage, if you put into the machine wrong figures, will the right answers come out?" I am not able rightly to apprehend the kind of confusion of ideas that could provoke such a question. The economy of human time is the next advantage of machinery and manufactures. The quantity of meaning compressed into small space by algebraic signs is another circumstance that facilitates the reasonings we are accustomed to carry on by their aid. You will be able to appreciate the influence of such an engine on the future progress of science. I live in a country which is incapable of estimating it. As soon as an analytical engine exists, it will necessarily guide the future course of science. Whenever a man can get hold of numbers, they are invaluable. If correct, they assist in informing his own mind, but they are still more useful in deluding the minds of others. Numbers are the masters of the weak, but the slaves of the strong. It will be readily admitted that a degree conferred by an university ought to be a pledge to the public that he who holds it possesses a certain quantity of knowledge. The errors which arise from the absence of facts are far more numerous and more durable than those which result from unsound reasoning respecting true data. Miracles may be, for anything we know to the contrary, phenomena of a higher order of God's laws, superior to, and, under certain conditions, controlling the inferior order known to us as the ordinary laws of nature. It is difficult to estimate the misery inflicted upon thousands of persons, and the absolute pecuniary penalty imposed upon multitudes of intellectual workers by the loss of their time, destroyed by organ grinders, and other similar nuisances. Whenever the work is itself light, it becomes necessary, in order to economize time, to increase the velocity. Trimming consists of clipping off little bits here and there from those observations which differ most in excess from the mean, and in sticking them onto those which are too small, a species of equitable adjustment, as a radical would term it, which cannot be admitted in science. There are few circumstances which so strongly distinguish the philosopher as the calmness with which he can reply to criticisms he may think undeservedly severe. The public character of every public servant is legitimate subject of discussion, and his fitness or unfitness for office may be fairly canvassed by any person. I find no flaw in your reasoning about the analytical engine. I admire it, but you are aware that it rests entirely on the hypothesis that I care for the whole human race. In turning from the smaller instruments in frequent use to the larger and more important machines, the economy arising from the increase of velocity becomes more striking. That the state of knowledge in any country will exert a directive influence on the general system of instruction adopted in it is a principle too obvious to require investigation. The tastes and pursuits of manhood will bear on the traces of the earlier impressions of our education. It is therefore not unreasonable to suppose that some portion of the neglect of science in England may be attributed to the system of education we pursue. Propose to an Englishman any principle, or any instrument, however admirable, and you will observe that the whole effort of the English mind is directed to find a difficulty, a defect, or an impossibility in it. If you speak to him of a machine for peeling a potato, he will pronounce it impossible. If you peel a potato with it before his eyes, he will declare it useless, because it will not slice a pineapple. It can happen to but few philosophers, and but at distant intervals, to snatch a science, like Dalton, from the chaos of indefinite combination, and binding it in the chains of number, to exalt it to rank amongst the exact. Triumphs like these are necessarily few and far between. The accumulation of skill, and science which has been directed to diminish the difficulty of producing manufactured goods, has not been beneficial to that country alone in which it is concentrated. Distant kingdoms have participated in its advantages,